The U.S. government officially shut down on October 1st. While headlines focus on Congress fighting over budgets, the real question is, how does this affect you, your family, and your money? I'm Gabriel Shahin, president of Falcon Wealth Planning. My job is to help you understand how major events like this, the government shutdown, impact your financial life and what you need to do to stay prepared. Now, we're going to go over the 6 core things that you need to take into consideration. And these are important that most people don't focus on because these things don't happen often. This is 21 times we've had a government shutdown since 1976. So we're going to talk in a little bit about the 6 things you need to focus on. But first, let's give a little background. Let's focus on what is a shutdown. A government shutdown happens when Congress fails to pass funding bills. By October 1st, the start of the fiscal year, without new funding, many federal agencies literally run out of money. Here's what this means. Essential services like Social Security, Medicare, military operations, and air traffic control will continue. But non-essential services, everything from passport processing to national parks, are either slowed or stopped. And nearly 900,000 federal workers are put on furlough without pay until funding resumes. Shutdowns are rare, but they've happened before, and each one comes with a ripple effect across the country. This year's shutdown is the first in 6 years. At its core, it's a political standoff. Republicans want to cut $9 billion from foreign aid and public broadcasting. Democrats are pushing for extended health insurances, subsidies, and higher health spending. Add in disagreements on science and justice funding, and you have a deadlock. Talks collapsed at the end of September, and as of October 1st, the shutdown officially began, with no clear end date yet. With that being said, this has happened before. Economies move forward. Businesses move forward. We move forward. So, I don't want anybody thinking this is a time to panic, even though it is a time to focus on what clear issues are happening in DC, but is that affecting you directly of what's happening to you at your house today, assuming you're not a federal worker? So now we got to see what these immediate impacts are for you. And these are the top 6 things that really help identify what you should be looking forward to during these government shutdowns. The first one, as I just said, is federal workers. About 900,000 non-essential workers are furloughed. They're not going to get paid until Congress acts. So when you look at essential employees like TSA, air traffic controllers are working without pay. Now, this has direct impact in general on our economy when people are not getting paid. And it has impact on us and our situation on how we live life on a daily basis. Which leads to number 2, travel and transportation. Flights and screening will continue, but new training and hiring stop. Expect longer lines and potential delays if this drags on. Yet again, these are impacts. We recommend going to the airport early. Just the other day, on October 1st, you literally had San Francisco have issues and delays all day long, and sure enough, it had to do with air traffic control issues. So these are impacts that affect meetings, travel, and so on. Number 3, Social Security and benefits. Payments keep going, so don't freak out. So Medicare and Medicaid continue as well. But new Social Security claims or appeals could be delayed. So yet again, this impacts your situation. The hold times for Social Security were already terrible. Now you can expect that even being worse. And those claims that typically take 4 to 6 weeks, expect that to go longer. Yet again, the delay could be 3 days from now, it could be 3+ months from now. But these are impacts for us, especially if you're waiting for those Social Security checks. Number 4, housing and loans. FHA and VA loans may slow down, and small business loans could be delayed. Now, let's think about that for a second. If you need a loan to buy a house, or if you're closing and funding is delayed, that's a problem. Imagine being the seller on that house. This could affect you and your future plans. And you take it a step further with businesses on SBA loans. If they can't have and act and receive these funds, now you have serious economic issues if businesses cannot operate. So if you were counting on government-backed financing, expect bottlenecks. In general, all types of funding and lending from business-backed entities are going to have issues, which will trickle down to you or your business. Number 5, parks and museums. Open-air national parks may remain accessible, but visitor centers, bathrooms, and emergency services are closed. The Smithsonian Museum and national zoos are only funded for a short grace period. So that could be annoying as we may be entering the holiday season, depending on how long this takes. I'll never forget when we had family members go to national parks only to hear that they were closed. They've been planning these trips for a while. They rented their RVs. So these are the direct impacts that in fact affect us. And this is why when you take a look at your situation, focus on what you can control. And what you can control is in fact working hard, going to work, still being able to pay your bills, and focusing on your day-to-day necessary things. There are things like visiting national parks or other national services where it could be effective. Number 6, the economy shuts down. It costs billions of dollars in lost productivity. Markets may get choppy as economic data reports are suspended. That means investors don't really have clear signals like they used to have before. This affects us. This affects my industry because people look at this government data as signs, as leading indicators. So you are actually going to see a little bit more volatility based on what they expect to happen versus the reality of when the data actually comes out. These are trickle effects that happen in our economy. And when you take a look at what's happening in DC, and we always say, focus on what you can control, whether you're in the Southwest or as close as the Northeast, you want to focus on that. But yet again, these now are starting to impact our portfolio. So expecting volatility is not uncommon, but you still have resilient investors. They'll still look to put their money to work and think long term, is what's happening today really going to affect me in the next few decades when I actually need the money? Now, let's focus on practical tips. How to prepare? Well, for federal employees, prepare for delayed pay. Retroactive pay is guaranteed, but your next check could be missed. So emergency money on the side is crucial. And by the way, you should know this from 6 years ago and the 21 other times this has happened in almost 50 years. File for unemployment if needed, but be prepared to repay it once back pay arrives. And for the public, Social Security and Medicare continues, but avoid unnecessary office visits until normal funding resumes. And for those that need their passports renewed, I would heavily recommend to do that earlier than just 1 or 2 months out. I would be doing that 3, 4, 5 months out because you could be expecting delays in that process. National parks may be open but unstaffed, so plan accordingly because your last visit might be a completely different visit coming up. File taxes electronically. Paper returns won't be processed until funding returns. Yet again, October 15th is when most extensions happen. You have regions like Los Angeles County with the fires that most people had automatic extensions on their taxes. So be on the lookout as we have a lot of business owners that in fact do extensions. So filing electronically is huge. So what does this mean for you? Essential services continue, but delays will show up in travel, loans, and government paperwork. Federal workers face immediate financial stress, though back pay is guaranteed. The broader economy could feel the pinch if this stretches into weeks. A shutdown may sound like a political fight in Washington, but it affects your money, your benefits, and sometimes even your retirement planning. That's why we focus on building financial plans that are resilient. So whether it's markets, interest rates, or government gridlocks, you're prepared for the unexpected.